in the future.
There are no people.
There are no people in the future.
No people at all.
There are no people in the future.
Where did all my people go?
There are no people in the future.
Let me try my people call. Where are all my people? Where are all my people? I guess I'll fly away now.
Hey, everybody, welcome. It is Friday, December 10th, 2021. Welcome to Raging Chicken's Out the Coop podcast. This is Kevin Mahoney, editor and founder of Raging Chicken. Each week I talk to, the good, the one, the only. Wait, what is the tag this week, Sean? Wait,
It's Sean Kitchen. There is no tag.
There is none. Okay, you had one on there for like a half a day or something like that. It's just Sean Kitchen. So we talked to Sean Kitchen about the good, the bad, and the ugly in state and national politics. You can help support this show by becoming a patron for as little as $5 a month. Head on over to patreon.com/rcpress. And you can help out the show by heading over to our YouTube channel, too, if you're not there already. Smash that subscribe button, like the stream for this show, and hit that notification bell so you know every time that we go live. On today's show, President Biden presided over the launch of his virtual Summit for Democracy on Thursday. Biden warned that the more than 80 leaders, something like 110 nations that were invited, but of democratic nations, that the threat to democratic forms of government is pressing, and that, quote, to date we're seeing all of the data that we're seeing is largely pointing in the wrong direction. Yeah, like the biggest no duh you get out there. The statements may have fallen a little hollow, as the U.S. is one of the nations that has been newly placed in the list of nations that are considered democratic backsliding nations. And while the White House put out a list of actions that it says it's taken to protect the vote, one lawyer from the Texas Civil Rights Project told The Guardian, quote, "You have to be kidding me. The actions are nothing but minor tweaks on the edge of the problem," I'll say. And Angela Merkel, the 16-year reign of her, Angela Merkel's 16-year reign as German Chancellor came to an end this week as a new Chancellor from the Social Democratic Party, Olaf Scholz, took the oath of office. He will lead a coalition between the SPD, the Greens, and the libertarian-inclined Free Democrats. Scholz will be the first Chancellor to lead a cabinet to include as many women as men, and the coalition also has ambitious plans to fight climate change by phasing out coal and prioritizing renewable energy. And this little ditty from The Independent, this is just kind of a fun little one. Patagonia, right? This is a quote, I'll just quote the whole thing. Patagonia CEO Ryan Gellert has called out big businesses for the alleged duplicity on the climate crisis, as well as their opposition to the Biden administration's ambitious Build Back Better Act. The corporate sector has historically been full of shit. And the sector is still full of shit, Mr. Gellert told Fast Company on Monday. He's the head of Patagonia. Gotta like that, Gellert. And workers in Buffalo, New York became the first to get a union at Starbucks. Starbucks has now got some union employees up there in Buffalo, and now everything will be turning toward the negotiation of their first contract. And UAW workers win the right to directly elect their leadership, bring new measures of rank-and-file democracy to a powerful union. And Canada bans conversion therapy, while France moves to make it a criminal offense. Now, those are all pointing in the right direction. Look closer to home. All I want for Christmas, I don't know about you, but all I want for Christmas are new legislative maps. Maps, and more maps. The Pennsylvania House Republicans released their congressional map drawn by former Lehigh County Republican Commissioner Amanda Holt. It's a solid GOP gerrymander. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Then Senate Democrat Sharif Street, this is just whatever, we're going to talk about this today, released a compromise map that is a 6-11 GOP gerrymander. Why? He's a Democrat, right? Remember that? Remember that little fact there? Why? Well, that map places a congressional district in his backyard and would basically set up a potential primary between Congressman Brendan Boyle and Sharif Street. State and national Democrats are pissed, to say the least, calling the map a non-starter. I mean, what Sharif Street's like sitting there? Okay, kids. Okay, we're here in the clubhouse now. We're gonna draw up some great maps. No one will know, right? It's like the TikTok meme, right? Nobody'll know. Nobody'll know. And lastly, the Legislative Reapportionment Committee, which is responsible for drawing the State House and Senate maps, is getting ready to release their maps and vote for them in the coming weeks. There's a deadline coming up on that, too. And the AP reported this week that Pennsylvania's right-wing billionaire, Jeffrey Yass, is looking to spend $20 million on his endorsed candidate for governor, and all the usual suspects from the Commonwealth Foundation and the Commonwealth Partners are at the center of it. Again, surprise, surprise. And hospitals in rural PA are sounding the alarm in the face of rapidly increasing COVID cases. According to Penn Live, quote, Geisinger hospitals throughout the north central Pennsylvania are operating at well over 100% of their capacities, with unvaccinated COVID-19 patients responsible for most of the strain, unquote. And the Philadelphia Inquirer also reports that COVID hospitalizations are at the highest rate since January. That's the peak of the last COVID surge. Not looking good, folks. Get those damn vaccines if you're not already. So put your crystals away and go get your freaking vaccine. And today's last call, well, you got a cool thing that happened today in space news. Yep, scientists just discovered a planet that is 11 times as massive as Jupiter, orbiting a dual star system in the B Centauri system. The discovery is actually changing scientists' understanding of the conditions under which planets can form. It's really cool stuff going on there. That went down a little bit of a rabbit hole on that this week. I've also been watching. Let's see, what was it? The Wheel of Time, which has been a lot of fun. I also started watching this other show called Carnival Row, which is pretty cool. We'll check in to see what Sean's doing to pass his time. Other than eating wings in Midtown, but you got that. Well, if you're looking for more PA Progressive talk, you can tune in to the Rick Smith Show's live stream at 9 p.m. Eastern on his YouTube channel, Twitter, Facebook, wherever you get your streams. Best bet is actually just head on over to ricksmithshow.com for all the latest across all his platforms. Rick has been kind of like exploding across the kind of airwaves. He's got picked up KPFK in Los Angeles, WBAI in New York. Just started broadcasting, a week and a half ago now in Chicago, Minnesota. Freaking amazing. Head on over there, ricksmithshow.com for all the info. And if you haven't already, got to check out the Sisters of the Night Caucus podcast. You can find it on Anchor, Spotify, iTunes, wherever you get your podcast. The amazing PA women stirring the political cauldron behind this podcast rock the house, and they know where the bodies are buried. Make sure to follow them on Twitter at The Night Caucus. That's at The Night Caucus on Twitter. And attention all you gamers out there, look, you got the holidays. We're in the thick of it right now. If you're looking for gifts for your gamer kids or for yourself for that matter, you got to check out the Game In. That's the Game In with 2 N's. Game In is a Quakertown-based black family-owned gaming store. They're friends of the show, and they've got everything from retro N64s to the latest consoles, video games for all platforms, and loads of collectibles, action figures, and Funko Pops. And kids get discounts with every A on the report card. Check them out on their Facebook page. Follow them on Twitter at @thegameinin. If you've got a question for a game, looking for something hard to find, shoot them an email at thegameinpa@gmail.com. And a special shout out goes to Jonathan Mann, who wrote our intro song, There Are No People in the Future. You can check out all his great stuff on his YouTube page and follow him on Twitter at @songadayman with 2 N's. That's @songadayman on Twitter. We've got a couple great shows coming up on Out to Coop Live that will take us up to the Christmas New Year's break. Yes, next Monday, this coming Monday, this is Monday the 13th at 7 p.m., I'll have Dina Lagerman on the show. Dina had wrote this amazing freaking article in Medium. It's called Central Bucks is Not Okay. And we're going to be talking about, she was a former candidate for school board, Central Bucks School District. She's a teacher. She's a writer. And she was basically one of those folks that was attacked by Paul Martino's money and his involvement in that school board fight. So we're going to talk to her about it. She's a phenomenal writer. That was just an amazing article that she put out. She's going to give the skinny on actually what is happening in Central Bucks. They just had a school board meeting this past Monday, and it was freaking overflowing. So we're going to get her take on that too as well. And then on Monday, 12:20, I think, this might not end up being a live show. It just at the last minute we had it scheduled, and my daughter's got a band concert at the same time. We might do a pre-record, or I might kind of have like a live show and then re-release the this at 7 p.m. on Monday the 20th. So anyways, so regardless, Monday, 12:20 at 7 p.m. hopefully live. If not, it'll be a rebroadcast, or we'll have a pre-record. I'm going to be talking to Christopher Rodkey. Christopher Rodkey is a UCC pastor in Dallestown, PA, and he's a newly declared candidate for the 93rd legislative district in Pennsylvania. We're going to talk about the role of religion in politics. I mean, we wanted to have Chris on for quite some time, and to talk about this kind of, exactly this, religion and politics. And we'll also get his take, and hear a little about his campaign in the 93rd legislative district in PA. And it's perfect to have him on right before Christmas. How about that? Look, if you want a progressive future, we need a progressive media, folks. Support Pull No Punches homegrown progressive media today. Become a patron of Raging Chicken for as little as $5 a month. Special shout out goes to Chuck, our newest patron, who joined last week. Simply go to patreon.com/rcpress and choose your membership level. We're here for the fight, but we need you. Become a patron for the price of a good beer once a month. Help keep the media in the movement the media. Become a patron for as little as $5 a month by heading over to patreon.com/rcpress today. Hey man, Sean, how goes it, man?
It's going pretty good. How are you?
I just finished my my last week of teaching for this semester, so I'm in a freaking jolly mood, let me tell you.
Are you?
I am indeed. I may have a lot of grading ahead of me and stuff like this, but I'll tell you, it was a really tough semester. I've had more students out in the past, like say 3 weeks out with COVID or kind of other, like, actually there's a lot of flu going around too as well, but I'm getting lots of COVID notifications, and we're seeing the spikes in cases all over the place. So, it's the pandemic has had a weight, I think, on everybody beyond the normal stresses of any semester. So it feels like a bit of a success to kind of come to conclusion at the end of classes. And my students, I mean, I'm telling you, I had some of the best work that I've seen in many semesters. So really amazing stuff doing, and I give my applause and thanks goes out to all my students and all the students at Kutztown and other, and across the state really, who just, who plugged through and did some amazing stuff despite the challenges. So that feels like a victory in my mind.
That sounds good.
Yeah, see?
It sounds nice. You sound happy.
I told you, I'm not lying. I'm actually in a good mood.
Once in a while.
Once in a while, what the hell, I mean, look, every once in a while, as democracy falls, you've got to have some moments of, of happiness. That's all.
It's just been feeling weird lately, with like our 4th or 5th COVID surge or whatever one we're on now.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, we're at like 10,000 cases a day now in Pennsylvania again, like the highest since last year. And it's just like, we're just going on with life as normal.
Yeah, well, by we, you mean you, right? I mean, that's...
But it's amazing, like, going out and going to the going to the market and shit like that, and people are just like, no one's wearing masks. Yep. Like the farm show is going to be in like 4 weeks. We're having the farm show this year, people. Like. Yep. 20,000 cases a day. Like, I want to go to it badly, but that just might be a little too much.
Yeah, well, I mean,
but it's just.
And the thing is, you think about this too, is that the GOP is going to it has to submit its legislative maps before the farm show, before they can look at what the impact and the death rate is going to be in their district. So that's going to be have an impact. I say that half jokingly,
but it's yeah. I mean, like, it's just amazing how people are just like putting this whole entire pandemic behind them. We're like, what pandemic at this point?
Well, what's interesting, it's like, because I have to, this commute to Kutztown, and it's weird from all the different spaces that I go through. it's remarkably different. So when I'm on campus, right? I mean, as you know, whatever, you have the freaking lackluster, contact tracing and voluntary vaccination, all the bullshit that we've talked about on the show with our administration there. But everyone masked, and for the most part, haven't had any issues with, other than the first couple of weeks, hasn't been any issues with, people not wearing masks, and vast majority of people wearing masks and kind of following that, which is great. When I have to go to the grocery store here in Percy, I walk in there and I'm the freak. I'm the only one with the mask. That's because there's no employees with masks, maybe one or two employees with masks, nobody there it's a mask. But then sometimes I stop at Wegmans on my way home, the one in Allentown, right, to do grocery shopping as I'm kind of on my way home from work. And in there, you probably got about 75% of the people do have masks on, right? So it's just like, I mean, it's all over the freaking map, right? I mean, it's pretty nuts.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can tell you at the bar, people are not wearing masks between their sips of beer. So, that's...
I would suspect that would be true. Yeah. Yep. I stopped in Free Will for the first time in a while, and they've been producing some stouts lately. I should talk about this in the today's last call, but I went out with my wife and my brother and sister-in-law, and we kind of grabbed food at the food truck and stopped in for a beer, and it was kind of earlier and stuff like that, and. I got to say, there were quite a few people that had masks when they were coming in or when they were walking through. But it's like, once you're sitting down and having a beer and drinking and things like this, nobody's got a mask on, obviously. So that's where it's at. Anyways, today in the fall of democracy. So I mean, I had to lead with this in part because I have a lot of trouble, okay, let me just say this, right? So Biden, as he promised to do this, right? At the beginning of his, during his inauguration, shortly after, basically saying, look, we're going to have a summit of democracy because you're looking at, the democracies are dwindling or backsliding all over the world right now, right? You have authoritarians who are kind of gaining steam, right? And some countries that have moved decidedly in authoritarian directions. And of course, right here in the good old US of A, we have seen, the emergence of, these right-wing groups and attacks on democracy. And we've seen the limits of what kind of like the way things have been done, actually, how effective that can be to bolster democracies. And so we wanted to have the summit for democracies and invited kind of like whatever, it was 110 countries or something that were invited that are kind of, quote unquote democracies, to talk about how to defend this against kind of rising authoritarianism. And while I think, I'm trying not to be like too cynical about this whole thing, right? Or too kind of like PR about the whole thing, but it's like listening to some of the speeches from Biden, from Kamala Harris, from Blinken, basically talking about how we need to uphold democracy and all this kind of stuff when you're like, you've got a Democratic Party in this country who's basically presiding over an undemocratic Senate and is unwilling to get rid of undemocratic measures to pass things that is widely popular. That seems to be a problem, right?
Yeah.
And as much as like, and I get the fact,
they're refusing to take out the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, like expanding voting rights and solidifying voting rights.
Right. Exactly. And they're like, well, maybe. And they voted on this thing to basically pass the...
I mean, they just kneecapped one of Biden's own secretary picks.
Yeah.
And you
because she was a commie.
Yes.
Not to mention had worked under Republicans before.
That brown-skinned commie. We can't be trusting them. No. And it's amazing that, the fucking party went along with that. It was appalling watching that video clip.
Yep.
Of her getting questioned with that, and you heard someone go gasp in the background, and then just you have the same 5 Democrats, Cinnamon, Warner, Coons, and who else come out and sink it, and just
yeah. Why did they do it? They did it for the banking industry.
Yeah, I mean, there's no more yeah.
You know, that's what I mean. You know what you know, I heard them
like our
talk.
kleptocracy.
Well, yeah, and I hear them talking
It only
about.
works. It only works when we need it to.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's been so frustrating, and even in the way that they've talked about this summit, right? They're saying like, okay, we need to protect voting rights, and then we look at, okay, well then do it, and they're like, well, we can't get rid of the filibuster because then that would allow democracy to function, right? So we have to have an undemocratic measure to check the democracy because we don't.
And we have to
trust
let
the
the undemocratic Supreme Court
right, and we have to look
dictate.
exactly, and we have to look out
And
for
we
our
have to
big
let
donors.
the undemocratic parliamentarian
Right,
tell us what we can and can't do. It's just like
it's amazing.
It's amazing. Like they really just like they balked on a lot of the things, and it's just like, you know, we were talking about this before the hand. I mean, the fact that like the mainstream Democratic Party didn't pick up on this populist messaging over the past 10 years when it was theirs, right? It was, I mean, really, it was ripe for the picking.
Yep.
In the wake of Occupy, the financial recession, and like Democrats didn't want to touch it. They just wanted to keep on messaging that like they're going to lower prescription drug prices, and you know the other side wants to raise Medicaid and stuff like that, and prescription. Like, but no, I mean, like it's. I'm being cynical, but like that's what the Democrats do. Instead of like putting out big bold like ideas and stuff like that and campaigning, I mean, like you got like. Yeah, I mean, fuck. I first let me just say this, like this whole next section by saying fuck David Brooks. Like, you know, like because I think him and people like Brooks and Friedman have a lot to do with where we're at right now, and they're just like crying crocodile tears from their like mansions and stuff like that, like. But like, you know, there's an interview with David Brooks just saying like he can't believe this is like an illiberal party. The Republican Party is not a liberal democracy loving party. Like he went to this like convention and they're saying coming up with ways of using this state power into attacking the people who don't vote like them. Like, and just like that's not small government conservatism. Like, yes, it is. Like
that's what it has been.
It's what, yeah, they're just saying it now. Like they're just like more naked about it.
Yeah, the only thing that has changed for those people is the fact that one, like you're saying, they're open about it, and number two, right, they're not being polite. Right? That they're a little too crass for them. They don't like their tone. That's it. It has nothing to do with the policies are the same. Civility. Yeah. They don't have the cloak of civility. That's it.
Yeah. It's not like your country club Republicans. You get be like nice about it.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and Kirsten says on the chat today, she's like, you know, yeah, like, and Toomey, our good old Toomey, worked really hard for months to sink the kind of Omarova nomination. He's at the forefront of that. And you say, yeah, exactly this. This is a perfect example of this, right? Where you see them just say, okay, we're going to do whatever we want. We're going to go ahead and we're going to kind of like take things out. We're not going to allow any Democrat to do what we expect Republicans to do. It's just freaking crazy. So, I mean, so anyways, I mean, like the other part of that, you know, what's got to be part of the conversation, you know, is that part of what it means to be in a democratic, like country, right, or support democracy, it means that you also have to actually have policies and programs that are going to speak to the needs of the vast majority of people, right? I mean, the fact that we've had this upward redistribution of wealth to like the top like 0.1%, like even during the pandemic and after the Great Recession, and then we pretend that that's democracy, right? You can't pass basic freaking like things to give people medical care. Right, you can't wipe out student debt.
Like,
yeah, and even when you can do it, you don't do it. And even though you see mass polling shows that, like, even like you want to bipartisanship, well, guess what? Pass the Build Back Better plan. Why? Because you poll people, Democrats and Republicans support it. Right, Democrats in higher numbers, but you got like 40-45% of Republicans support what's in that bill.
I mean, what's actually been like weird about this stuff, like watching what's been going on recently, especially like during the pandemic, and thinking about, going like into those deep dark corners of like the world. Like this is all what Chris Hedges.
I call that my basement.
But like this is all what like Chris Hedges wrote about.
Yeah.
In the 2000s, like post-Iraq War, like 2007 and stuff like that. Like just like this is where we're going.
Yeah. Yep. And it's gonna take a long, on Monday's show I talked a lot about Rebecca Traister's article that she's talking about in the face of Roe v. Wade, another perfect example of anti-democratic institution like the Supreme Court kind of stripping the rights of the majority. But I digress. And she said, talks about this in very sober terms about it's going to take a long time to kind of right this ship. I mean, we got to be prepared for a long-term protracted struggle. It's not going to be just about one election. It's going to be about building power long-term. So here we are, man. People try, people like Chris Hedges tried to warn us, right? And a lot of his stuff was, dismissed as being too dark and too cynical and too, you couldn't really play it. You couldn't basically translate it into elevator music. So therefore it wasn't something that was popular in American culture and we couldn't listen to it. You can only listen to nice things. And so we don't listen to them. And then what happens? Here we are. Right. And this idea that we have some hopes of bipartisanship when you've got a party that is willing to use every lever of power to its own advantage in order to secure more power for itself. Holding open the gate for the unicorn to come home is not going to happen. Right?
Or, collaborating with them and drawing congressional maps with them in order for your own self-interested political aspirations and ambitions.
Oh, we were going to get there.
No, but I mean, like, this is like the type of watching like that type of stuff happening with Sharif Street and all, like looking at these parallels. I mean, like these are the type of people who will cut deals like a Vichy puppet government. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
To save their own asses. Like, I mean, like these people will collaborate with fascists. And it's just like in order to save themselves, or also be like think that there's still like this respect of the institution that's left. I mean, we're seeing that with the Democratic Party. I mean, how can you take this shit seriously when you have Democrats drawing Republican-friendly gerrymandered maps for Republicans?
Totally. No, totally. What is that guy? What's that guy's name? I'm forgetting his name. Kill Switch. Who wrote that book? Adam Jettleson, right? Adam Jettleson was I was listening to him. He was on some podcast the other day, and he was talking about the this democracy stuff, right? And basically saying like, look, the Senate is an anti-democratic institution, right? And this is the way it worked. The filibuster is an anti-democratic thing. And then I was on Chris Hayes actually, and Chris Hayes was like saying, well, yeah, well, they keep on talking about Senate tradition. He's like, you know what Senate tradition is like somebody gets pissed off enough at somebody else, so they change the rules because they're sick and tired of somebody doing it, and then the next day they start cloaking it in this kind of realms of tradition. There's no tradition. These things are not traditions. This is what they say to make themselves feel good, as if they have a higher purpose when they don't. And that's exactly right. I mean, this is exactly what. So you're upholding. What's the tradition exactly that we're upholding here?
You gotta listen to the parliamentarian. Right,
exactly. I mean, I know the parliamentarian is like, by Senate rules has to be a demigod, right? So it's, it's important that we worship whatever they say, for risking kind of eternal damnation, but it doesn't mean that it's set in stone, is my point.
Yeah, we have to sacrifice a goat. And then
wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't it be great guerrilla theater to bring a goat up? It's like, what are you doing? So you're bringing in this sacrifice for the parliamentarian. That would be awesome. That'd be awesome.
I'm sorry, I was watching like Roman history stuff over the past couple weeks, and just like, yeah, let's just like sacrifice a goat or something, and just like I don't know, disembowel it, or like, and this is what it says. This is what the parliamentarian rules by the innards hanging off like our hand.
That would be awesome. That
Which
would
is
be
like
awesome.
what
And but just so we're clear, I'm not advocating that we actually sacrifice an actual goat. That it's like we're talking theater here, folks. Oh my
no,
God.
I mean, like, this is like what I mean, this is like the traps that like the Democrat. I mean, not even that they fell into. This is what they like. Just
No, this is who they are.
This is who they are. They're allowed. They are enabling this behavior, so they don't have to do things that they promised.
Right. I mean, they want. I mean, this is what happens when you do politics by PR, right? When you basically want to use the words, right? You want to use the words and the language to kind of make people to show people that you are the party of the people, whatever it means, that you are behind people. But it's your actions, not your words. And when the gap between what you say and what you do grows so wide, right? You're basically destroying yourself. Right? We see this over and over and over again. And that's it. You can say as much as you want that you're the party of workers, that you're the party of women, you're the party. This is what Rebecca Traister was talking about. It's like, well, okay, great. You could say all the right things when it comes to defending Roe, but when it came to actually kind of defending the Supreme Court, what did you do? Yeah. When it comes to getting rid of the filibuster and passing legislation that would have codified Roe into law, what happened? When you had supermajorities, what happened? You didn't do it because you were afraid it was going to be too divisive. For who? The majority of women in the country? I don't think so. The majority of people who call themselves Democrats? I don't think so. So divisive for who? It's like that's the kind of nonsense that you can talk a good game only so far. You actually then eventually got to play the game. Sorry. I mean, like, it'd be great if we could kind of do everything from behind a computer terminal or kind of filter it through kind of multiple lenses of PR firms. But, ultimately, you got to do the shit. Is what it comes down to. And it's like, that's the problem we're facing right now. It's a crisis of democracy. Damn straight there is. But it's not just the Trumpers, right? It's the institution of the institutionalists in the Democratic Party who refuse to get behind majority rule. Like I'm forgetting her name right now. She's a representative who's been behind kind of voting rights stuff for a long time. She's led the charge on this stuff. And she was on, again, Chris Hayes last, God, why am I citing Chris Hayes so much this week? But she's on Chris Hayes last night. And basically and she lays out this stuff about how it's so important. And Chris Hayes is kind of like, I hear you. What you're saying, I agree with you. But the Democrats seems refusing to pull the trigger on the Senate. So are they going to do it? And she's like, well, she didn't want to sell out her Senate colleagues, but shit, there it is.
Yeah. And that's where it's just like you need to start getting a media that, isn't ran by former Bush lackeys, which is what MSNBC is pretty much becoming right now. Like the stopping ground for the never Trumpers and the former Bush flackies. And it's just like no one's, confronting them. Like you can't get Mehdi Hassan within 10 feet of these people because
I know they run from him, man.
No, and because he asks the questions and stuff like that. Like it's it's just like, yeah.
And what's ironic too, as well, if you listen to his show, right? When he gets people on the show, look, some of them do come back several times, but most of them, they'll come on for an appearance and they don't like a hard question, and so they go, wait. What the remarkable thing is, right, is that if you watch like the news media in other countries, right, the kind of questions that he asks these politicians are like the standard questions. Right?
Oh, no, and like the questions
the media is supposed to ask.
Like, I mean, these are questions that like Mehdi asks that are like what actual journalists, the press journalists in the newsroom asks. Like there's always follow-ups and stuff like that. And just like, and then, okay, and now what? Like it's, but.
Yep. Yep. So there we have it. In other Democratic news around the world, we're going to get a Social Democratic Party coalition in Germany after Angela Merkel's 16-year reign as Chancellor. And that's significant for Europe in part because, Europe, Germany is the largest economy in Europe. and they're really the kind of the tip of the spear, if you will, in the EU. And to have actually a social democratic party in coalition with the Greens and, yes, the kind of more libertarian leaning Free Democrats is going to be significant, especially since the pledge is what the head of what they campaigned on is, basically getting rid of coal and doubling down on renewable energy. That's pretty cool. And, go ahead. And the fact that you have a majority or an equal number of women and men on the cabinet for the first time ever in German history is also good.
Oh, no, that's awesome. I got a little bit of democracy news on my own.
Oh, great.
So like those YouTube videos, like those masterclass videos.
Yeah.
Like, and they give about like people who they give you lessons on how to do things. Mm-hmm. So you want to know who got their own masterclass? Hillary Clinton on how to lose to Trump.
Is this a joke or is this serious?
This is serious. She got a masterclass. And so Sarah Jones, who was on Rick Smith's show a bunch of times when she was doing the religious stuff, put out a New York Mag article saying that Hillary Clinton released a masterclass on losing to Trump. You want to talk about getting all the blue wave Twitter and hitting the beehive?
Oh yeah, but you know what? I mean, this is part of the thing when we
get this is like the branding liberalism,
right? And it's like
it's more about affect and
like we got to. I mean, like seriously, I don't care who the politician is. It's like they're a freaking politician, and we got to get out of this hero worship nonsense, right? Where we expect and again, there's that cliche, right? The Republicans what is it like? Want to kind of follow their leader, and the Democrats want to fall in love or something like this. I can't remember how that goes, but I never can remember how that goes. But it's like this personality politics and this kind of freaking celebrity culture that we're in. It's like it's just so damaging. I mean, it's like to be able to kind of look and say like, I can respect everything. Like, I can respect so much about what like Hillary Clinton achieved in her life and all this other kinds of stuff, right? I voted for Hillary Clinton, right? I was like, I voted for Hillary Clinton when she was running against Barack Obama, right? And you know why? And I had this argument with my family. I said, well, because Barack Obama he's got all the rhetoric that you want. I said, but Hillary Clinton she's a pit fighter, and at that point we needed a pit fighter. Right. By the time that she ran later on, she wasn't a pit fighter anymore. I mean, it was like, she was different. But that was kind of my point. Anyway, that's so off track. But to sit there to watch, somebody say something negative about Hillary Clinton, then everybody like jumps on it. And then when we're all in these camps again, I said, are you freaking kidding me? It's all it is like celebrity worship all over again. I don't care if it's Barack Obama. I don't care if it's Bernie Sanders. I don't care who the hell you were talking about. It's like, if we want to actually achieve power in here, we got to get past that. This is just freaking nonsense celebrity politics.
I also don't get the celebrity worship of Clinton.
I mean, especially since like,
I mean, with what's going on in the world right now,
and like
it's just like,
and Bill Clinton signed freaking NAFTA, right? Kind of launched globalization, right? I mean, like the freaking crime bill. I mean, if we cannot rectify, look, and here's the thing, and I've had this discussion. I had no intention of talking about this today, but I had this discussion with some people like not too long ago, which I was just like, look, you want to be able to kind of include, say, diversity thinking and stuff in schools. Me personally, I'm 100% for that. I think we should be teaching critical race theory in schools, right? Even though nobody's doing that, we should be doing that. We should be looking honestly at our history, at our background, systemic racism, sexism, white supremacy, right across the board. Like, I'm all for that kind of like open education, right? That's what I think we should be doing, right? So, but if we're going to say, look, we need to be kind of looking at all this stuff, the unvarnished truth, even when it's uncomfortable. And then we turn into our politics, when we're kind of looking at our political candidates, and that we're suddenly unable to transfer those same kind of intellectual skills that we can with the American history to our political candidates or our political parties. By criticizing and look at an unvarnished look at the deep failings in the Democratic Party or the problems with particular candidates is not about like blasphemy. It's about wanting to achieve and fight for freaking democracy.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, seriously, it's gut wrenching to me. And I can't tell you how frustrating it is to talk to other people who I know are progressive, right? And I'm like, I'll mention something about a candidate. I'm not saying I support that candidate, right? But I'm just like talking about this one policy or something like this, and then it goes into this like immediate reaction of like, oh, or you know, I'm in this camp, or like, I'm like, whatever. If that's a conversation you're interested in doing, I'm like, there's a reason why I could care less what happens on freaking to celebrities in the world. I'd never followed that. It's never been interesting to me, right? Yes, I need the references once in a while so I could actually participate in conversations with people, right? You know, but I mean, seriously, it's the same thing. In politics, you know, we got to be able to kind of focus on our organizing and our building our movements, not a kind of like, who's going to be our next hero worship? I mean, that's so dangerous to me, and I don't know why that's such a problem. Anyways, end diatribe. I didn't mean to go down that road. But I've been thinking a lot about that for quite some time. So, anyways, a couple quick things before we kind of take a quick break. Huge kudos go out to the folks at Starbucks up in Buffalo, who basically got their first union. And I hope the first union ever in a Starbucks, right? In good old Buffalo, New York.
Which is amazing for the company.
Totally. My neck of the woods. That's right. Rick in Buffalo. Well, I'm not from Buffalo. My parents, my mom grew up in Niagara Falls, got family out in Buffalo area. So it's kind of like, you know, it's part of the tradition, but the upstate New York, so good for you, good on you. And I guarantee that we're going to start finding out about that election down the road. And there's already been some writing about this, but it's been really cool. You had of course you had the rise of the DSA and kind of the socialist candidate for mayor in India Walton there. Walton was her name? What?
Yeah, Walton. India Walton.
It is Walton. Okay, for some reason that rang wrong when I said it. And I bet you that is part of the dynamic of what's happening kind of on the ground in Buffalo that contributed to this union win. So that's huge. The other thing I definitely want to kind of mention is that UAW workers won in a pretty significant election or referendum about basically being able to directly elect their leadership. And this is a big deal. It may not seem to resonate with a lot of folks who are outside, say, the labor movement, but the deal is this, right? What some unions do, what the UAW did, is they had their kind of like their delegates that would elect their leadership, right? I mean, my union does this. We don't directly elect our president, right? We elect our delegates, and our delegates go and they decide, right? And they are the ones that vote, not the other thing. And you know, I think direct elections would be better, but that's me. And this was the case where the UAW had been, I mean, it's a powerful union, and it has a growing and more diverse constituencies across the United States. So they're one of those, the growing unions especially on the West Coast in higher education, for example, and you see in other sectors. There was a push, especially after a series of corruption scandals that plagued the UAW and some rank and file movements within the union, to say we want more democracy. We want to get away from this business union model, and we want to have more rank and file empowered membership decisions. And they won. They won that vote. I think it was like 60 plus percent. I don't know if it was all the way to 65%, but they voted to be able to directly elect their leader. So congratulations to those folks in the UAW who worked hard for years on this campaign. And now we're going to be able to kind of hopefully kind of change the way that union operates, and make it a more militant and responsive union. So here's to it. Bring it back to its roots, really. So that's pretty cool. And last thing I want to mention before we go to break is that major victories in the banning of conversion therapy. For those folks, obviously conversion therapy is when you kind of take someone who's gay, especially kids, and then you say that there's something wrong with them, so you send them to this conversion therapy to kind of convince them that they're not the thing that they are, right? And it causes all sorts of kind of mental disorders. It's led to kind of has to suicides and all sorts of issues. And it's, you know, it's basically a form of, I would say, mental torture. But you know, that Canada went out and banned conversion therapy. In France, actually moved the same week also to turn it into, make it a criminal offense, right? When the Canadian law, if I remember right, is like you cannot profit off this, you cannot advocate for it, and things like this. Whereas in France, if you partake in this and you do this, you're actually subject to, you've committed a crime, which is awesome. And because in the United States, I think it's 20 states that's something like that still allow for conversion therapy to take place. So almost half of the United States still allows for this kind of brutal, you know, it is brutal practice to continue. So we should be banning it here and following our neighbors to the north. But cool. Anything else you got for kind of part one, Sean?
Nope, nothing really.
All right, good. Well, hey, everybody, this is Kevin Mahoney, editor and founder of Raging Chicken. We're going to take a quick break, and we come back, and we're going to get into what we want for Christmas. Maps. Remember, you can help support the show by heading on over to patreon.com/rcpress, and you can become a patron for as little as $5 a month. This is Kevin Mahoney, editor and founder of Raging Chicken. We'll be back right after this quick break.
I'm Rick Smith, and this is Labor History in 2. On this day in labor history, the year was 1915. That was the day the 1,000,000th Model T rolled off the Ford assembly line in Highland Park, Michigan, near Detroit. Henry Ford started Model T production 7 years earlier. For nearly 20 years, the Tin Lizzie served as the first affordable vehicle, opening up travel and leisure to a new middle class. Ford refashioned the packing house conveyor to develop the assembly line. Before production moved to the sprawling modern River Rouge complex, the Highland Park plant was considered the factory that changed the world. Ford's ambition to produce cars for the multitudes extended to his workers. As part of his campaign to beat back organizing drives by the industrial workers of the world, Ford instituted the $5 day at the Highland Park plant. For auto workers, buying a Model T even with the $5 day was not so easy. The $5 day actually amounted to $2.34 in wages and an additional $2.66 a day in profit sharing if Ford determined the worker was actually living right. Investigators from his sociological department visited workers in their homes. The routine intrusions into the personal lives of workers away from the job included determining spending and cleanliness habits, whether they drank or smoked, whether they were married or single, the state of the workers' marital relations, and family values. Workers who failed these home inspections were given 6 months to shape up or be fired. Ford ruled young single men, women, and blacks completely ineligible from the wage program. For a time, employee turnover plummeted and production increased. But wartime inflation and deteriorating working conditions all but killed the $5 day, which ended in 1921.
Welcome back. It's Kevin Mahoney, editor and founder of Raging Chicken, here once again with Sean Kitchen. So Sean, it's Christmas time in the Capitol, and you got a bunch of legislators and folks and operatives working on some Christmas presents. Tell us all about it.
Yes. So it looks like a bunch of the maps are going to get voted on within the next couple weeks.
Legislative maps, we're talking.
Yes, congressional maps, and the legislative maps. So the House Republicans put out their map, which was the citizen map, which came from a former Republican county commissioner from Lehigh County, Amanda Holt. She was good. She actually challenged the maps last time around in 2010. Mm-hmm. And sort of like, this isn't like wonk. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some sort of like money backing her. It seems like, for them, pretty much like she drew a Republican gerrymandered map that would put Harrisburg and Altoona in the same political district, congressional district.
Well, they're practically neighbors.
Yes. Yeah, I know, right? It'd carve out Harrisburg and Camp Hill, and then carve out Dauphin County in like 3 different directions. So she put out this wildly like gerrymandered map. The Republicans are using. They see we chose a citizen-led map, and it just seems like there's just too much cynicism there. Where I wouldn't be surprised if like she got. I'm not gonna say compensated, but if she's somehow like a plant at this point, like what I mean, because it just seems like it went too smoothly. Like the Republicans are just being very Machiavellian about this, like. You wanted a citizen map, and here's your citizen map.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Kirsten says, well, we'll get to this. I mean, well, let me ask. Well, Kirsten
like
says
the gaslighting is just
yes, it's insane. Kirsten was just kind of said, you got to read Boyle's statement on how he was treated in the maps. It's a must read. So that's.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, info for all.
Yeah, it was.
Well, what's interesting too as well, you talk about the gaslighting. You say like, again, this whole idea about getting citizens maps, and what drives me bonkers about some of that too as well. You see a lot of the reporting on it. Like it took me a while to figure out what the hell are they talking about when they say citizens maps.
So about a month ago, there was a committee meeting. I think it was a Senate meeting. I don't know if it was or a state government. There was a state government committee meeting. I think it was Senate, where she was the only one that showed up without like presenting her maps. Committee of 70, Thornburg, and a couple of others were there. And one of the things that Amanda Holt was really keen on was not splitting up political districts, political boundaries. So, like, not splitting up Harrisburg or not splitting up Camp Hill. So that's why you see, like, all of Harrisburg and all of Camp Hill in that district with Altoona. Mm-hmm. And the Republicans were really in favor of that. But there were like 3 or 4 people presenting, and she was the only person to not have her map there. So I guarantee you the Republicans already had that map selected as they were going through this dog and pony show the whole entire time.
It's freaking crazy.
Yeah, so.
It's freaking crazy. Well, but
times.
But it's a good thing though. It's a good thing that the Republicans weren't the only ones who had a map. That we had someone who actually sat down and came up with a good compromise map, right? That we have. So
yes, and then Senator Street came up with a compromise map that is a 611 GOP gerrymander, and that places a congressional district smack dab in his neighborhood, and pretty much like gets him and Boyle into a primary match, which is just like amazing.
It was pretty remarkable.
Okay, so there's been rumors for a few weeks, or at least at least months now. It's been pretty open that the whole idea that Sharif Street's running for the Senate is so that he can run for pivot and run for Congress. And so everyone thought he was going to primary Dwight Evans. No, because Dwight's probably going to be there until he dies in that seat. So, rumblings a few months ago, it's going to be him, and he's going to try primary Brendan Boyle once the new maps get made. And here he is making his own map to get this district, and he's cutting a deal with the Republicans. And I mean, I like what Boyle said. Boyle's pretty much like, I'm not here to compromise with, Republicans while we have to fight to fix democracy. Which is like true. You're just putting your political ambitions ahead of someone, ahead of your own, like.
What's astounding was
like you're putting your ambitions ahead of like pretty much the country or like your party in one of the most important elections or series of elections coming up, and like this is the map you want for the next 10 years.
Well, that's what I was saying. Is like, I mean, how could you be so? I mean, what just like a horrible politician? I mean, seriously. I mean, it was like clubhouse grade kind of like, I was joking before the show. It's like, this is kind of like, a bad mob movie, right? We're gonna get here. We're gonna make these maps. We're gonna make these maps, and nobody's gonna know, right? And then we're gonna get it with our district. I mean, it's like.
I mean, apparently he wants to run for the chair of the party next year once the reorganizing happens in 2022. Primary. That's good reason for people who want to get involved with county or committee politics. This primary is the year to get on your county committees and state committees. But he apparently wants to run for state committee, or not state committee. He wants to run for head of the the chair of the party, or wants to run for the chair of the Philadelphia Democratic Party. But
I mean,
Yeah,
anybody who would have let him get to be the chair of the party is just like, I mean, it's malpractice. And I swear to God, if they allow, because this is like to so blatantly come out.
I think what happened yesterday, this is just so bad of a political move, miscalculation. Like, I don't know. I mean,
But that's what I mean. Well,
obviously he wasn't expecting it to blow up in his face.
No, but for him, the biggest scandal of it is that they got leaked. That people saw what he was doing, like literally.
I'm more concerned how my name got on here.
Right. If your defense is like, oh shit, people found out, that's not right. That people found out. Right? That's a serious problem right from the get-go. And to see it so blatantly like being drawn to protect him and to give him a bump up while basically handing over kind of like, super majorities basically to the Republicans, it's freaking nuts.
Yeah, I didn't do it in a year when you had people right away. You mean like state and national Democrats just calling it a non-starter. I mean, the issue with this map is Wolf is going to veto the map and the Supreme Court's going to draw it. Like that's what's going to happen with this congressional map.
Well, I'm just glad this is all happening during the Summit for Democracy week.
I mean, I mean, you saw the other maps, what they were leaning to. They were leaning of putting Fitzpatrick in Northeast Philly. You give him a chunk of all those Republicans. This is what we were talking about before the show. I mean, you can cut up Northeast Philly and South Philly in a way where you can have two Republican districts cutting through the city because of the concentration of Republicans in those neighborhoods.
Yep.
You saw the one map, South Philly became a Republican map, just being in Southern Chester and Delco counties. But
crazy, man. Well, so there we get where we have it. So that's the first round of maps. Right. And now we've got the Legislative Reapportionment Committee, which is getting ready to release State House and Senate maps too as well, right?
Yes, and these will favor Democrats because of the chair. So these are the maps that are going to favor Democrats.
So what do you think is a likely outcome then?
I don't know because they're going to be shown next week. I think they're going to get released next week and voted on the draft. And once that happens, you'll have 45 days. All this stuff has to start moving now in order to be done by a certain deadline in order to have the primaries happen in May. Mm-hmm. So we should be moving with those maps pretty soon.
Good. I also saw that one of your favorite friends, Jeffrey Yass, is in the news once again.
Yes.
Do tell.
The AP reported that Yass is looking to spend $20 million on his preferred candidate running for governor. So we have a clown car of people running for office right now on both sides. We have someone who is looking to pretty much handpick their candidate and push them through the primary and then give them $20 million. Or whoever wins the leftover money, to go against Shapiro. So, Yass is associated with groups like Commonwealth Leaders Fund, the Children's Choice Fund, Students First. Yass gave money to all those people gave money to Martino and other PACs. So, I mean, this is pretty much him shaping himself up to be the kingmaker or the puppet master here.
Well, I'd say, and I said this to you before the show too, as well, is that I'm legitimately worried about the midterm elections because you've got, and I haven't come across any writing thus far from journalists who have actually been digging into this across the board. I mean, one, you've got stuff on Jeffrey Yass, you've got other folks that are reporting. We saw that great article in the Philadelphia Inquirer about Paul Martino and so on. We've got McCormick, right, coming in with the Trump, Trump endorsement. But anybody who's looking at the money coming in across the board, because it seems to me that this dark money is going to rule the day in Pennsylvania for 2022. You're talking $20 million just from one guy. Plus the other millions of dollars are going to be coming from other avenues and things.
I mean, Yass is looking to spend upwards of 70, 80 million next year. So
That's
20
crazy.
million is just a drop in the bucket.
Wow.
Yeah. So shit's gonna be wild in Pennsylvania next year. I don't think people realize.
That's the sense that I get. I said, this is like the last time in the world that you want to be kind of letting your guard down is right now, because man, the floodgates are about to open.
I mean, you have I mean, like a lot of democracy work's gonna have to be done next year in order to just like prevent these people from like even long-term democracy work. Stuff's gonna have to start and then continue after this. It can't stop. So
No, there we are.
We got some fun projects.
Yeah, there we have it. Well, I know that I know in my neck of the woods, organizing has not stopped. People are keep on working. I know there was a huge meeting. We're gonna have Dina Lagerman on the show on Monday at 7 p.m. Talk about the Central Bucks School District, and they had a school board meeting this past Monday, and it was packed. Right, a lot of comments because there were these off the charts comments by these folks about anti-trans comments. I'm not going to repeat them all. Anti-Semitic stuff, all this kind of stuff was said, and so you had people lining up outside for like over an hour, waiting in the rain to get into the school board meetings to be part of it. So,
speaking in favor or against,
most
against or out, speaking out.
I would say it would be. I would say most people were motivated to go because they were outraged at those comments. Right.
Who were the comments made by school board members or
other people there, and they weren't stopped, right? And so then there was this case that went about can you actually prevent somebody from saying this stuff at a school board meeting? And there was some court case that basically said you really can't, right? Because it's like First Amendment protected speech. Right. So that was one back and forth. But, the bigger issue was that the board didn't come out and just disavow those comments. Right. And so that was the bigger issue, that you had members of the board who would not just basically say.
I am pretty sure a board can be like, hey, any comments made, any derogatory comments, you'll be cut off immediately.
Well, this was an issue that this was a back and forth, and apparently there's some sort of case. I don't have it in front of me. Otherwise I could tell you what it is. But I'm sure we'll be talking about this on Monday, because that was it. But a lot of parents, look, they had been organizing around that meeting ever since there was the meeting that blew up. That was just outrageous stuff being said. The parents and community members had organized for this school board member meeting, and they turned people out, right, to basically say, look, this is, we're not going to allow this in our school district. So my point being is that, this organizing is continuing, which is good at a local level. Hopefully we're going to see this kind of, again, here in Bucks County, kind of countywide, we're going to see similar efforts kind of happening around the state. We got to do something. That's for sure. In other news in Pennsylvania too, as well, we've got, COVID cases are spiking once again. And it turns my stomach to say it. But I was, look, I got more notifications from students that they were out because of COVID. And I don't mean just like them trying to get out of work. I'm saying they were out with COVID or had been exposed. And this is not just me, it's happening to faculty members all there. And we're looking at, the university reporting their COVID numbers. And unless the only students that got COVID during a 2-day period were the ones from my class, right? Those numbers are just ridiculous, right? So their numbers so far, and we had the PA health data came out and showed that Berks County, which is where Kutztown University is, had the highest numbers of daily cases of COVID since the pandemic began. And this is happening, county by county. You've got what's happening up in, in some of the rural districts in central and northern PA.
Oh, Schuylkill County right now is just off.
Right. And guys,
I'm looking at the Philadelphia News or PhillyInquirer.com or Philly.com. They have that chart per capita, 100,000 cases. And you're looking at it now and it's Philadelphia has the lowest amount of cases per 100,000. At 380 or 330, while Schuylkill County has 1,200 cases per 100,000.
Yep.
Which is just raging right now. And same thing with Berks. Berks is going to be approaching like 1,000 cases
Yep.
per.
And it's like, you think about it as like, of course it makes sense, right? Because the Delta is far more contagious than the original virus that came through. And so you're going to get more cases. And especially in areas of the state where this is what was acknowledged. The Geisinger officials basically said, look, the largest percentage of people that are coming in are being hospitalized, right? They're over capacity. Are people who are unvaccinated. And that's actually, been a problem in Pennsylvania. So, even though you've got high concentrations of vaccinated folks in, say, Philadelphia and some of the kind of, major cities and some of the, the ring suburbs, for example, around Philly, you got a big sections of the state that are, anti-vaxxing Trumpers and all this, and it's being affected. So
Did you see that that Christian pastor who passed away last week?
Yep.
And I was watching a thing, and it's just like it, because they had someone on who follows all the right wing Christian media outlets, and he said like, no, this is gonna make these people more hardened to believe the virus is fake, and this is a spiritual attack against this guy's body from the people who are vaccinated.
Oh God.
It's
Well,
just
it's true. It's true. It's what's going to happen.
No, and it's just like, listening to like, but you also made a really good point. Like a lot of the shit you're seeing where critical race theory and all this stuff, like this stuff was popping off 5 or 6 months before the mainstream media on these websites like Metaxas and stuff like that. And just
Yep.
like, yeah.
Yep. And look, they showed that, when you saw the GOP doing what they normally do, right? The right wing throwing a bunch of shit against the wall to see what's going to stick and then kind of campaign around it. They first went with the critical race theory, and they got some kind of, they got some momentum out of that, but it was really the anti-masking stuff that really kind of drove people out. Right. And so then they doubled down on the anti-masking stuff, and, and now here we go. This is, it's like, here's the direct result of, this is like, the fruit of your labor.
Yeah.
So,
and then, what else was I about to say? The, with the COVID stuff. Geisinger also said that the vaccine mandates are actually helping, even though they had to fire a couple hundred employees for not getting vaccinated.
Mhm.
It brought the total number of employees out on a daily basis from like 2,000 down to like 700.
Yeah. Because guess what? More of your employees are vaccinated. Fewer of them are going to get sick with COVID.
Yeah.
Right?
So it's actually like making the hospital run their hospital systems like
that's crazy. That is so crazy.
While WellSpan just said that they will not be they'll be pushing their vaccine mandates back for employees because they got pressured.
I'm telling you.
It's amazing these hospital systems with like these right wingers running them, like WellSpan out here in central Pennsylvania. They just fired someone from one of their call centers for refusing to book children getting vaccinated, while they just pushed their vaccine mandates back a few weeks because of like the Mastriano crowd and other Republicans pressuring them.
Wait, they're refusing to vaccinate kids? Is that what you said?
Well, there's a couple different stories. One, they're refusing. There was a Geisinger employee, or no, there was a WellSpan employee who got fired this week for refusing to vaccinate kids.
Oh, the
scheduling vaccines.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes, and then there's also a thing with the vaccine mandates. They were getting pressure from like Republicans and over the vaccine mandates, and they're refusing to go through with their vaccine mandates and terminating those who didn't get vaccinated. And they're going to reevaluate this stuff back in coming up in January.
I don't know how people live with themselves. I'll never know, Sean.
But Geisinger or WellSpan was one of the hospitals that was colluding with Frank Ryan and the Lebanon Republicans last year when they were going against Governor Wolf's shutdown orders. They're like, yeah, we emailed the guy, told him, and he's like not going to speak.
Freaking nuts.
Who also used to be Scott Perry's chief of staff. So
I was in a good mood, Sean. I still am. But, all that's would say, look, everybody, anybody you can encourage to get the vaccine, just to protect them and protect everybody else around, please do. And for everybody, I mean, just an extra measure of, of safety. I mean, I know people have been getting really uncomfortable going around without masks and things like this. And, can feel even more uncomfortable now, kind of, if you are the one of the few people with a mask in a place. But, I just, or whatever, I have my mask on all the time when I'm out. I mean, even when I go into Wawa, right? If I stop into Wawa at, whatever, like, get some breakfast in the morning and a cup of coffee, I put my mask on. Am I the only one in there with a mask? Is that me and the employees? That's it. We got our masks on. But it's, I found, at least for me, keeping that habit going is kind of important, because look, nobody likes to freaking have a mask, right? So that's why Sean is probably one of the biggest proponents of never taking his mask off if he doesn't have to. He actually, when he goes to the bar, he actually drinks his beers through a straw, so to make sure that he gets around it.
No, I feel like doing some of those people do. They cut the mouths out.
He cut the mouth so he can eat it. There you go. Crazy. All right, well, this is Kevin. Anything else going on in PA you want to throw in?
Legislature's gonna be in office next week, and they're gonna be voting on a bunch of constitutional amendments to go after your votes, your voting rights.
Excellent.
So
Fantastic. Happy stuff. All right, everybody.
And House Bill 1800 is gonna get passed again. So
yeah, I have I had there's a bunch of things kind of going on. I had to go through my head, but frankly, this was, like I said, this is the end of this is the last week of classes for me, and so I was pretty burnt out this week. So I was in my little hole. Literally before the show today, Sean was like, "Hey, did you hear about?" I'm like, "No." Did you see that? I'm like, "No." It's like I didn't. That's kind of been where I'm at. So there we have it. So anyways, this is Kevin Mahoney, editor and founder of Raging Chicken. We're going to come back with a quick little wrap up, see what's happening on, maybe looking ahead for plans for the holidays. What are we watching? What are we thinking about? What are we doing for fun? This is Kevin Mahoney, editor and founder of Raging Chicken. We will be right back after this quick break. This is Kevin Mahoney, editor and founder of Raging Chicken Press. For the past 7 years, Raging Chicken Press has brought pull no punches, progressive reporting and commentary to the interwebs. Our long-form investigative pieces, stories that no access journalist wants to touch, or rollicking weekly podcasts strive to advance progressive movements and perspectives rooted in the struggles happening across the country or down the street. We've broken national stories and caused our share of discomfort in the halls of power. If we want a progressive future, we need progressive media. And you can help support Pull No Punches, homegrown progressive media today. Become a member of Raging Chicken Press for as little as $5 a month. Simply go to patreon.com/rcpress and choose your membership level. We need to make sure to keep the movement in the media and the media in the movement. Best way you can do that is to become a member of Raging Chicken today by going to patreon.com/rcpress. Thank you for your energy, your encouragement, and your support. Keep up the fight. We're back. It's Raging Chicken's Out to Coop podcast. It's our last call. The last thing I'm going to do before I take a nap. That's where we're at. No. I did go to the dentist this morning, Sean. That was fun.
Yeah, you were saying.
Yep. I got my little fluoride treatment. I got chewed out, no pun intended, for kind of not doing good enough job flossing. So I've got to double down on my flossing efforts. But, I'm happy that I have a union and I have dental insurance through my union. So,
yeah, I mean, like, the thing to, yeah.
Dental and vision
are two things.
What?
Dental and two visions. Dental and vision are two things that just, like, fucking annoys me. It's not really included with this stuff.
it's insane. It's insane. So you can put your hope in and build back better, or you can get a union. I don't know what to tell you. That's what what else we're going to do. So I mean, it's insane. That's just not the norm for everybody. It's just bad. But anyways, yeah, cool stuff happened in space this week. I went down this little kind of really cool rabbit hole. There was this, they discovered this new planet, which is like 11 times the size of Jupiter, or the mass of Jupiter. It's like way out in, the B Centauri star system. And which is fascinating about it by its own, why it kind of was so intriguing for me to kind of check it out this week is, one, the scientists were like, oh, this is kind of, we didn't expect a planet could even form in this system, because it's actually a dual star system, right? So you actually got these, stars that are orbiting each other, right? And then you got this enormous planet that is orbiting like the center point. I forget what you call that too. I love the word for it, and I'm just spacing it right now. Like, because if you have like two objects that are kind of like
the fulcrum.
Is that what it's called? No, it's not the fulcrum.
That's the leverage point of things. But
no, this is like, so basically you have, if you look at like the sun, right, and then you got the Earth, right, and then so the sun orbits obviously around the Earth, right? I'm saying this because, well, that's what I'm saying. The reason, what did I say? Oh, I said it the wrong way. I said it the wrong way. I can't believe I said it the wrong way. I was actually Copernicus. I was just about to say the reason why I'm telling you this is because some people might believe otherwise, and then I didn't realize I was saying it wrong. I meant the Earth goes around the sun, right? But and if you look at the like mathematics of it, right? You think, well, okay, the center of the Earth, right, and then the gravitational center that it rotates around is actually the center point of the sun, but that's not true, because the Earth has mass too as well. So the point of the center point of the orbit is slightly off center from the sun, right? Because the sun's obviously much more massive than the Earth, so that it's off the center. And then if you have two stars, right, or two planets that are kind of orbiting, even like the moon, right? The moon doesn't orbit around the center point. So like the two
stars orbiting around each other as well?
Yeah, okay. So you have these two stars that are kind of like are
locked in this
gravitational thing, and then you've got this enormous planet rotating on the outside of that. And the sun, one of those suns is like, I forget the percent, but it's like so much more massive than our sun, right? So it's just this crazy system. And the scientists initially thought that that planets couldn't form in that kind of space because the gravitational like poles and dynamics were just too much. And they were thinking that planets would take an extraordinary, like a really, really long time to form, right? Because planets form, you have the star creation and you have all that stuff that's around the stars, and slowly they begin circulating around and colliding into each other and kind of congealing, all that stuff, right? And here you've got this planet 11 times bigger than Jupiter, right? Massive than Jupiter. It's also like orbiting about 100 times out further than Jupiter orbits around our own sun. So it's like this huge, massive thing that's orbiting much further away, and they don't know how it would be possible. Now they're thinking actually that because of the size of the gravitational fields in this area and all this, that it actually might have formed a lot more quickly than they thought planets could form before. They're not quite sure, but it's like this kind of crazy dynamic. But if you check it out, I'll put a link in the show notes today. It's a really cool story to kind of see like what's going on, and just some crazy dynamics that they're seeing. And it's like you just picture it in your mind, right? These two stars like rotating around or orbiting around each other, and this giant planet orbiting around that, and they're all in this kind of like locked in this field. Just kind of a cool thing. So they thought it was pretty good. There's a couple of cool things that are going on. They just launched a new X-ray satellite that is I think it's launched already, or unless maybe it's today. That's going up. The big news is actually on. I didn't put this in the show notes, but it's coming up on December 22nd. Is the scheduled launch date for this? Is the James Webb telescope. The James Webb telescope is like the next generation of Hubble telescope. You might have seen it. It's like these gold kind of octagonal mirrors that are in this setup. It's really, really cool thing. And they just got it, the housing for it kind of all set and kind of sealed and prepared. So they're moving in that direction. And so this is this is going to allow astronomers to be able to see so far further into the universe that we're going to see pictures that we've never seen before. So this is going to be a huge kind of event when it comes to kind of, you know, the study of the stars. So that's what I got going on pretty much, and reading the space stuff. The other thing I've got, you know, I've been, like I said, I've been watching the Wheel of Time. Really kind of cool show, very interesting show. I'm still, I made a reference to it in my classes this week, the closing out for one scene, but I don't want to give any spoilers. But so far, it's a kind of really interesting show that I urge you to check out if you. It's only on Amazon Prime, so you got to deal with that. But that's pretty cool. What do you got going on, Sean?
I really don't have anything going on this weekend. I think I'm just gonna make some more bolognese sauce, have some fun. Nothing really too much. Just getting ready for the holidays.
Good, man. I do see. You know, I didn't mention this at the beginning of the show, but I do see that you got your you know, full kind of A Game Lifestyle Channel shirt on today. It seems like a new look for you for the Zoom calls.
This is actually all it is just like a loose flannel that I got. It's nice.
Yeah. Well, it looks like
One of those like large. It's just a large flannel. That's it. Nothing really, just more than that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. I've been wearing it like 3 or 4 days a week now. I'm joking.
That's great. Every
but
call
no, it's like one of
it.
those like sweaters where it's just like it's super comfortable,
Yeah.
like, and it's almost like a hoodie right now where it's just like wearing it multiple days.
Oh, that's awesome, because I'm looking at it like it looks like a dress shirt from, like, you know, on the Zoom
No,
call.
no.
Yeah.
This is a black and gray. I think like a little like smaller designs to it.
Yeah.
But it's a black and gray flannel.
Very nice.
Instead of like going with like a red and black. Nope, it's not a dress shirt. It's just a flannel shirt. It's
so
really
this would be like kind of like the flannel, like of your kind of like, if you had a flannel mullet, this would be the kind of business in the front side flannel where the black.
I do have a red and black flannel upstairs I can wear next time.
I really killed myself with that.
Yeah, this is the one that I can get away with like wearing my sweatpants, which I'm in right now,
Here you go.
or wearing with my jeans.
Oh,
So
good. Excellent. All right, man. You got any plans for the weekend?
not really. Got some things coming up. I'll be photographing a couple rallies next week.
Oh,
So,
cool. That's awesome.
fair funding stuff that's still going on with the lawsuit. So it's going to be with Susan Spica and a couple of others, and they're bringing like toilets and toilet paper, like large props. So I'm looking forward to see how this is.
That's awesome. I
yeah,
like it already.
So
I have to
So,
say, I'm teaching this class that's in it's called New Media Story Change, right? And we look at kind of storytelling and kind of social movements and campaigning and things like this, and building kind of campaigns. And I got to say, the students in my class, I had a completely full class, it was a packed class. The projects that they give, the final projects, they have to build like a story-based campaign around an issue of their choosing, right? And they got to do some of the background research into organizations that are working on this issue, whatever it might be. And some of the campaigns that they came up with are so freaking good. I don't want to talk about them because I hope they do them, right? Because it's like that kind of stuff. If like, and I keep on telling them, it's like, if you want to work in this field, let me know, and I will tell you people that, I will send you to people, because this is freaking gold.
do they have are these kids good with TikTok? The youth?
Some of them are. Some of the youths are. That's true. Yeah, some of them are, absolutely.
It feels like old, like on the phone calls, like talking like what we need to be doing. Just like we need to focus on TikTok, and it's just like
You're like,
I feel old because of that.
you're like, it makes me feel a little uncomfortable.
Talking about social media platforms, we have no use. I have no idea about.
It is true. I mean, it's like, I have for Raging Chicken. I have one video on the TikTok account for Raging Chicken, right? And it's I had never done it before. I was like, I'm gonna try it out. And it was when Biden won the election, right? It's just kind of like the camera starts like up in the air, looking out the window, and it kind of comes down as the music's playing, and it focuses on the headline of the newspaper: Biden wins. Right, it's Biden. So that was it. That's all I have up there right now. But it is like there's no doubt about it. I mean, that's where that's where the young folk are. There's no doubt about it. But it's actually there's really cool content up there. Look at it, you say COVID information, for example, there's like all sorts of epidemiologists that kind of go on and talk about that. The work that was being done around with Black Lives Matter was kind of awesome on that. It's just what I wish I could do, to be honest with you, is like what I wish I could do with TikTok is I wish I could just kind of like lock the algorithm at some point. Because what I find is like, and this is what makes me uncomfortable. I'll say this like flat out. I told my students this too as well. I said if it seems to me, and I could be wrong about this, but it seems that if you like go away from the app for a while, right? So if you're constantly kind of like on it, you look at it kind of for several days in a row and stuff like that. The algorithm picks up pretty quickly about what content to feed you. So there's one time I was in this sweet spot. I had like the book talk, right? So I had these people that are doing like, these books that I want to read and things like this to get reviews of suggestions. I like putting them on my list and stuff. I had these other kind of these crafters who were doing things from like these giant doors and metalworking and other stuff. And then I had, the political stuff was in there. And then there was another, there was a teacher talk thing. I'm just like, there was this kind of cool stuff. And then I stopped kind of doing it for a little while because I'm like, okay, I gotta whatever. I'm just sitting here like flicking through on my freaking phone. I mean, this is like, what am I doing? I gotta get stuff done. And so I go back to it like a couple months later, and then it's like, oh God, okay, now we got all the young folks dancing and saying like, hey, if I just show a little more skin, then I'll get more likes. And I'm like, it makes me really uncomfortable. But it seems like it really, and this is I'm thinking about this a lot right now, especially because my kids, because I'm like, how do you get them away from that? And I wish if somebody knows how to basically prevent TikTok from kind of like throwing like really kind of sketchy stuff on a For You page, please let me know so I can get the frick off my page. And so when I see it on my kids, I can stop it coming from their content, because that's what makes me work. Anyways, that's what I say, Sean.
Mm-hmm. That's like a lot more TikTok than I've used ever. I was going to use it and just stopped. It's like, yeah, fuck this.
Well, it's funny. It happened the same thing. I remember the first time when I first got on Facebook way back in the day, right? I had no interest in being on Facebook at all, right? I had no interest in that whole stuff. And it was Ali Cavallero, who was a student at Kutztown in the honors program, and who's now a professor out in California. She wanted more faculty to kind of get on Facebook to kind of like, to create these, groups and stuff for the honors program and things like this. And back in that day when Facebook was first kind of it was like, it felt sketchy, right? You felt like you're a creeper, right? You don't go on Facebook because like, that's where the kids are. That's like a little weird to get in their personal lives and stuff like that. But she made a compelling case over weeks about why I should get on it and why others. And so I did. And, came around to this understanding is like, well, okay, you still have, there's this medium that you're kind of engaging, and you don't have to engage necessarily on its terms. And then started reading about, again, how people are using this politically and all that other kind of stuff. But it was like this adjustment time of just being like, I don't know about this. And I feel very similar to that with TikTok right now, because it is so dominated by young folks. And there's, it's like, a lot of it is this kind of dancing and fashion and kind of like, all the, like, what do the kids call it all? The thirst traps. That's it. Right. like all that stuff is so present on it and I just wish I could steer around that stuff, because I'd rather not that be the first thing I see if I check it out, which is why I'm not on it very often. So anyways, there you go. Social media use. Kevin Mahoney, who teaches in the social media theory and strategy program at Kutztown University. Crazy. Anyways. All right, man. Well, hey, I guess tomorrow it's going to be 70 and then it's going to be 30 again. So we've got a nice little roller coaster of a weekend and some rain and some wind. So that
sounds about right.
That sounds about right. All right. Yeah. There's not a crisis in democracy. It's a crisis in the climate. So, here we have it. All right, man. Well, hey, it's good checking out. Good checking out. Good talking to you again. And I hope everybody will check out our show on Monday when we'll have Dina Lagerman will be on the show, and should be an awesome one. And have a good weekend, man. See you next week.
You too. I'll talk to you later.
All right, here we go. This is Kevin Mahoney, editor and founder of Raging Chicken. It's been great hanging out with everybody. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for the thoughts. I'm just tired today, apparently. I think that's really what the deal is. So I'm going to cut it out here. I'm going to look forward to my weekend of climate crisis. Woohoo! See ya!